genres. Now, if you missed the last episode, I was chatting with Morgan Haynes about the Fantasy, and we've had a great conversation so far. We come back to me and Morgan talking about Thasmin, and we have just discussed the first two series, and we're on Flux. So that's you up to date. Without further ado, let's get back to the conversation.
Yeah, that's really all I can say, really, about the villains.
Yeah. I think one of my favourite moments, I think it's got to be Jodie Whittaker and Manic Girl completely. Because
Yes.
yes, the girls, I mean...
Thasmin! Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I love what they did, really. I felt that Yaz questioning the Doctor sometimes, it kind of made it like, it was like, it's taken them kind of a while to question them. I mean, they did question them back in season 12, but at that point, I was like, finally, now we're getting somewhere. And I'm so happy to see them do that. And I think when you look at, for example, the late episode with the hologram in Survivors of the Flux.
Oh, yes.
And then the wholesome moments in the Vanquishers. I mean, I just personally, there's just something about it that, I personally feel moved by, and maybe it's just because I'm just like, kind of getting there with, because at the point I was starting to grow on Thasmin myself, and when I look back, that scene is like, that's a moment right there.
That was a moment.
Yeah, and also Jodie crying. Oh my gosh, when she was crying, those here, it just...
Which episode was that?
That was, when they're talking at the end of the Vanquishers and Yaz and Dan go off.
Oh! When she was about to kiss Yaz, but then Dan interrupted them.
Yeah. Silly Dan.
She was really happily moved.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, yeah. It was just very moving, that. Like, even talking about it now, it's just making my eyes water a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, brilliant.
I know. Yeah. I personally, I think it was a good series overall. I think I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of the Vanquishers, and that's understandable.
Fair enough,
because I personally think I enjoy it. It's probably my favourite finale just ahead of series 9, which is another impressive finale, which I think there's also kind of some vibes there with Thasmin, which I have seen on Tumblr and on Twitter, and I'm like, wow, they're right. And
they were right.
Yes, it's just amazing. So now we're going to move on to the specials, and we're going to go to Eve of the Daleks, of course.
That time loop episode was just wow. And then, of course, speaking about Thasmin again, we're into that. I'm actually trying to think as I'm speaking, because, dare I say this, my YouTube videos are actually usually scripted, so I'm like trying to process my thoughts and speak at the same time. So Thasmin, in terms of Eve of the Daleks, I mean, it was expected.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting Chibnall to take the turn that he did.
Yeah.
Because literally their whole entire feelings came out, and it was like, really?
Yeah.
It's like, surely that was only in fan fictions of Doctor Who fans?
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading. I remember back in 2020 when I have an archive of my own account, and I did this challenge where you did 30 days of Thasmin, and I feel like, and I did it, and I think it was just good to, and I did get I think it got quite a bit of love there, and it was probably one of the most successful fan fictions I've ever done. So, and it's the same with my YouTube videos myself. Whenever I send Thasmin, I don't know where, it seems to do as well as, because my gymnastic videos I do as well.
Yeah.
just seem to do quite go high. I mean, whenever it's like, I've always said that there's certain topics that the viewers that I know will
Yeah.
say they will want to watch that. So yeah, so I think Thasmin in terms of is quite popular. I mean, even if people aren't a fan, it is quite talked about on.
It isn't talked about ship, really. As
Yeah.
as the modern people say again. all these modern words going out with me here. So, and also I do want to say that her speech, the 13th Doctor's speech about not giving up and succeeding on when you fail, is just wow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just really, that was probably one of the standout moments for me as Jodie as the Doctor for me, really.
Yeah.
One of them, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I was actually I don't know. I'm not sure if it was that moment, but I remember like when I have like I think that's where I normally go to now with stuff that quote, and I probably will go to that. Is that kind of inspired me, like even if things go wrong, I'll continue to carry on and succeed. And I think when in personal life, in my personal life nowadays, I feel like I've not given up, and I
Me
think
too.
and once you see results, and you're like, wow, I can do this. So yeah, it's just the perfect speech. It's definitely the perfect speech.
She is truly an inspiration to many people, myself included, really.
Yeah.
So what's the next episode? Or
Legend of the Sea Devils.
the Sea Devil one.
Yeah.
So I'm actually trying to think back to watching it back in April, really. So I mean, the episode was good from what I remember of it.
Yeah.
These oh, this is the episode where Yaz and the Doctor were
Yeah.
basically admitting their feelings for each other.
I know. I'm like, it's probably. I mean, I personally love the episode, and I kind of get the contrary criticism because yes, it could have been a bit more. It could have been a bit more. But what I remember from it is Thasmin, and I know there's a lot of shows there's a lot of shows like The Underwater 18. I kind of watched that a lot. I like and I'm just like but you know that last scene at the end. I have to say, when after the first few months of watching, I kept crying at the music.
It was a very emotional moment, that.
Yeah, and it kind of brought me to say that this was gonna end in the next episode. So I think I think that's what kind of hit it for me, and I think it still hits because I personally just love the there's a lot of good dialogue in there. Jodie Whittaker and Mango once again are doing a great job with it, and it's just like it just brings you the emotions to feels because yes, this was a slow burner, but when they get to the actual impactful stuff, that's when it kind of sinks in for me. I mean, does it sink in for you?
Yeah, quite agree with what you say. It was actually quite a slow burner, the Thasmin stuff. Like, there was actually some references in series 11, then 12, then obviously 13 was the true impact of it all, and then obviously the specials. Just I agree, really. With the entire Phasmin stuff, really.
Yeah, and now this is we're gonna obviously talk about the power of the Doctor, and then we're gonna do a few quick discussions on certain elements, but we'll get to the power of the Doctor first.
Fair enough.
So, your thoughts on it?
Oh, so then, it was an hour and 28 minutes.
Yeah.
So every time I watch it, I cry.
Yeah.
like just it was just a beautifully written piece of television by Chris Chibnall.
Yeah.
Um, regardless of how we thought about his work in previous episodes and
Yeah.
series of Doctor Who, um, Torchwood, etc. He he really did do a great job at the fact that this of course what is probably going to be his last ever episode of Doctor Who in terms of showrunner, perhaps guest writer.
Yeah.
Because I did read in the Doctor Who magazine that when he started guest writing Doctor Who back in 2007,
That's right.
his kid was only in primary school at the time. And then it came to obviously the episode we're gonna speak about in a moment. Yeah, it was just pretty much his family life basically kind
Yeah.
of had an impact on uh his decision to whether or not to stay on or leave.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I do agree on his decision to leave,
Yeah.
despite not wanting him to actually depart. But the episode itself was very good because it had all sorts of classic elements, classic companions,
Yeah.
the return of Graham, which was
Oh
like
yes, the legend. We love him. Yes.
which was wow. And then the only thing that did bug me is the fact that John Bishop, as in Dan, left right at the start, and it was like, what was the point in him being a companion for him just to leave like that?
I actually gonna add to your point here because I'm like recently I've been like, do I feel like I love Dan. I think he's quite an adorable character, and but then again I'm like, it's the same issue I've had with one series companions overall. I mean, sometimes when you just one series, you don't really get enough, and I feel like yes, I do think he should have had a bit more script work. He should have had a bit more, and I think that's the thing when you're not remembered, like he's actually got a lot of fans out there, which is great.
I was a fan of him before Doctor Who.
Yeah, and I think when I look at characters that are wasted, I think Dan is the unlucky one, and I think you've also got to remember he's only been in one series. Everyone else has been in like 2 series or more, and I feel like what I was lacking was his time with 13. I think
Pretty much.
I mean, I get he was there to to try and because I feel like it's done because he wants to have more, and of course it's given this opportunity. But when we look back, I was like, I feel like I've got to be honest. I feel I remember Donna Noble more than him, and I'm like
exactly.
And Donna Noble is it's probably one of the best Russell T Davies companions out there currently. I'm just gonna say currently because it could all change because you never know. But
no, true.
But I think the fact is, I feel like Chibnall could have done a lot better. Like I felt like because John Bishop is a really nice guy. I think he's so adorable, and also he's got all this stuff on in like his documentary with his son, and of course his own show. But yeah, I just felt as a viewer, I was left cold. I felt like I wanted more.
Yeah, I mean, you could actually blame the pandemic for that, really.
Yeah, that's another good point.
Because if the pandemic didn't hit, surely we would have had more of John Bishop.
Yeah.
Or I do think that the pandemic was the only reason for him to join Doctor Who.
Yeah. I mean, we could have had John Barrowman as well, because that I know.
No.
That would have actually...
It would have worked.
No, it would have worked, but then again, if he wasn't, it would have delayed the series a lot more, and I think it would have... We're just lucky just everything went the way it did, because if... if John Brown was in it and then things got on, we would be having the same situation with as people are having with Neil Patrick Harris right now.
Mhm.
So it's basically it just ended up. I mean, I think, like I've said, Jack, amazing character. I actually
Mhm.
do like him in season 1.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think in situation, I think it's the same thing with another character in another show. I mean, I love the character; she's one of my favorites, and yet the actress has actually made an absolute joke. And what are you doing? And that ends up getting her fired, and we won't be getting her next year, which is absolutely catastrophic because she was one of the best things about the show.
Mhm.
So I'm interested to see how they're going to adapt in Mando 3. But yeah, everything obviously went the right way in the end.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the doctors of the Guardians of the Edge because that's a big moment.
So in terms of that, I truly was not expecting the classic Doctors to return in any way, shape, or form. I was actually expecting maybe they would appear in the 60th anniversary,
Yeah,
but not for the centenary special of the
no,
BBC. But the fact is, they returned and they absolutely blew it out of the park.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I think for me, I think I just love it because I also what I love about it is he has that bickering between 8 and 7.
Yes. One of my favorite lines from that, and I
Oh
can
yeah,
literally remember it so well. This line,
yeah,
the fact that they argued about the robe, and
yeah,
then Paul McGann literally said that he is a manifestation of his consciousness. He can do what the hell he likes, and it's like, yes, mate.
yeah,
It's like
baby.
you tell him, or
Yeah,
you tell them because you also talking to 13 too.
yeah. I feel
It's like
yeah,
yes.
yeah. I feel like yeah. Um, Sasha Darwin. Honestly,
Oh.
I wasn't expecting him to actually, calm the doctor. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh
I
my
mean,
god.
I was expecting something because it was actually rumored that they would have a fight scene on top of a cliff.
And that ended up not happening, but
I mean,
because
it did happen. It did
yeah,
happen because they were actually on a cliff top,
yeah,
and
uh,
then obviously the obviously that mini fight scene did happen.
yeah. And it was kind of like that moment. I was like, oh no. And it kind of does. Now thinking about it, it emotionally impacts me. Like I'm like, oh gosh. And no, oh yeah, I gotta be honest. I was like, it really made me hate the master a lot. It made you dislike him a lot more. I was like, your fault, bro.
Yeah,
You put yourself into this. You didn't know what you were doing when you wanted to do this to. So
exactly.
basically, master, you damaged yourself. Your fault. End of. And I
Pretty
think,
much.
and I was kind of satisfied with what happened because it kind of serves him right in a way because he's the one thing I love about him. He never learns his lesson. He
Nope.
never learns it at all.
Not even from the Sim era. It was like he just never learned. And also Missy trying to become friends with the Doctor again. That didn't work out.
And because Sim once again got himself involved and
Exactly.
exactly. So let's obviously we're gonna finish this next part. Obviously, we're gonna talk about the Thasmin scenes and the regeneration, and
Yeah.
then we're gonna do some few more questions.
Fair enough.
So that last scene, I have to say,
In terms of regeneration or Thasmin?
both. We'll talk about both because
Fair enough.
So I think it's one of the most beautifully written scenes in history, and I think I've now looking at the scripts and the fact that the crying, some of the things Joey Man did it all themselves, and it just felt, to be honest, it just kind of does the script a big disservice, but it does the actual episode a big service because it just becomes more realistic. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Like it just felt natural for them both to cry with each other because
Yeah,
obviously they didn't want to leave each other.
yeah,
And then the fact that I've also read the script too, and the fact that the doctor wasn't actually meant to touch Yaz's face, and it
Yeah.
was just like, oh, it's like,
Oh,
it, like she was basically comforting Yaz the fact that she was going to die, and
yeah.
that unfortunately changed it to David Tennant, but we'll get
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, Thasmin as a whole and in that episode was just perfect.
Yeah, I agree because that scene went on the rooftop, and I'm gonna probably be doing a video on this at some
Mhm.
point. So guys, stay tuned on this stuff because that's gonna happen at some point. Don't know when, but it's happening. But
Mhm.
yeah, I just love it because it kind of makes me feel emotional, and it's one of those things I've watched a lot because I just feel the passion. And I think a lot of fans will have said it actually might be a love letter to us, the fans, as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's for everyone, and that's
Mhm.
what makes that scene impactful.
And if people say that they didn't like the episode, then I'm afraid to say this, then they're lying to themselves.
Yeah,
Because literally that episode was just purely Doctor Who from either if you're even a classic fan of the show and didn't like the rebooted version, it was just
yeah,
purely Doctor Who.
yeah, and also William Russell, of course, and
Ah, yes.
that scene. Honestly, I really enjoyed that scene because it also helps Mandip as well because Yasa just left, and
Yeah.
I I really love how the classics just came and the revival.
It's just so sad though, because
Yeah,
like William Russell now is like 97.
yeah,
So who knows how long he's got left on this earth?
yeah,
Like surely if Doctor Who was his final ever seen on television, then good on him.
yeah. It's gonna be like with Bernard Cribbins next year as well. It's gonna be
Yes.
like, oh my gosh. And now we're gonna go on to the regeneration. I just think it's one of the most beautiful. I actually still think this is the best regeneration in the whole series for me.
Agreed.
I just love it, and you does it bring anything sentimental to you, Dusina?
Well, in terms of the regeneration itself, like, yeah, it does make me feel very sentimental as for the era as a whole. But then, of course,
Yeah,
we then got David Tennant at the end of the
yeah,
regeneration process,
yeah,
and really, if I'm actually gonna be truthfully honest with the audience and people who are
yeah.
going to be listening to this. I just, dare I say, I'm not looking forward to Rusty Davis's next era,
Uh,
really, because it just left a bitter taste in my mouth. Because, as we all know, and have said this multiple times on
yeah,
Twitter,
yeah,
Facebook, Instagram, it's kind of like a rebrand and a relaunch of series 2, and it's just like, go away, David Tennant.
yeah. I think when I first heard the rumors, I was not a happy bunny. But now looking back at it, I actually liked his first scene, and I think there's potential if there's still time makers involved. But here's where my issue is, and I think 2023 for me is a big year because there's a lot of shows I love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried he's going to get sidelined by Pedro Pascal, who's playing Din, also Tom Hiddleston playing Loki, and
Mm-hmm.
also D. Bradley Baker, who's going to voice a lot of clones in the Bad Batch. There, and also a puppet,
Mm-hmm.
a popular puppet. I mean, it's probably. I know he's going to be safe. I think
Yeah.
he will be, but he's also Rosario Dawson's going to be Ashoka Tano possibly at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that those shows could pose a threat. I don't think it'll matter when Shinigawa takes off the role. He'll be fine. It's more David Tennant is the one who's in that big danger zone.
Yeah, it's just like in terms of like all this speculation around the
Yeah,
Disney Plus stuff, and it's just like I generally don't like the way the show's going, if I'm honest.
yeah,
It's just making me just not want to watch the 2023 specials, really.
Yeah, it's understandable because I think when we look, I've seen a lot of people who have not been a fan of it, and then there's some people like myself who have been, are getting the idea. I think it's maybe, I'm going to be honest, it does come across as a publicity stunt, if I'm going to be honest.
It is.
Um,
It definitely is.
and I just feel like they could have done this a lot better. I feel like, I mean, the problem is, if they announce She Gatwa's costume this week, which is rumored, it's gonna probably, for me, put David back in that zone, and I'm like, Russell D Davies is gonna have to pull something out of the bag, because if I'm gonna be honest, if I find Tennant overshot again,
Yeah.
I feel like Tennant's just gonna be real. I'm just gonna struggle to really praise Tennant. I don't want that. I want Tennant to have a good time, come back better, and just fix from a day his last time, because I think there might be potential, as people have said. That's like, I don't want to go. What if they were able to flip it around, and still put meaning into David Tennant's daughter? It would probably be the icing on the cake for me.
I mean, now that you've said that, I just don't like the idea. Like, the fact, because his final line was, "I don't want to go," in the 2010 special at the end of Time Part 2. And he was like, surely that should have been it, really.
Yeah.
Like, I understand he returned for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But he was the 10th Doctor there.
Yeah.
And now in the 60th, he's the 14th. And it's just like, Russell, what the heck are you doing?
I know, yeah.
It's just... Can I be truthfully honest here?
Yeah.
Like, I just find the entire concept just stupid. Like, I'm not hating on David here.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I'm just like, I mean, I absolutely adore David as an actor, and and quite frank, I do find him quite attractive too. But that's another story. That's another story. But in terms of just these specials coming out in 2023, and then Series 14 in potentially 2024.
Yeah.
I just think that the return of David Tennant has, as you said, is just a publicity stunt. But also, I just think that surely Tennant will continue on after the 3 specials have aired. I just think that David will just overshadow Shooty Gatwa's 14th/15th, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah,
and it just saddens me, because, like, I really want to enjoy Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that all this Disney rumor and stuff, potential Americanizing the show, it's just like, surely they shouldn't be doing any of this, because since the, dare I say, the dawn of time, since 1963, it's been purely British.
Yeah. I think, from what you said, I think there are some concerns, and I actually do agree with you on them, because I think with what we've seen, and as I've said, you feel like David Overshaw, Shooty, I say the opposite. It just kind of comes. I think we're kind of in the same boat, because we both think someone will overshadow the other, and that's a problem when we look at in terms of what Doctor Who has done in the past few years. I mean, I feel like when Joy came on, she brought something fresh, something good.
It was amazing.
Shooty will do the same too, but with Tennant, they've got a lot more to give. They've got to get this. I think in the end of the day, they've got to get the whole process right. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster, and that's just what we don't want. And I think you agree as well. We don't want that disaster.
No, we don't. But what I do think it is going to be a shambles.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just, as you can tell by the way I speak about it, I just think it is just an entire shambles, and it's just going to deem as a fail in my mind. Like, I'm just not hyped or excited for like the entire reboot of the Rusty Davis era because, like, when he was announced last year, I was like, all right then, I'll give him a chance again. Like, I was a massive fan back in 2005 to 2010 of the Rusty Davis era, but that's because he only had two doctors.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't have two and a half.
Yeah.
Like, you now have David Tennant as the 14th. Now you have Shikaro as the 15th. It's like, how the heck was that going to work?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see next year. So we'll see what happens. But I've got 4 more questions.
Fair enough.
We're going to do 4 questions. And what is your favorite piece of music from this year as a whole?
That's a tricky one. That so I think my favorite. Can it be 2 pieces or can it be more?
Try and throw as much as you can out, if you can.
So my favorite piece of music is probably the 13th Doctor's theme as a whole. It is just heroic, iconic, very good. The Cyber Masters theme with the Cybermen, it's just like, seriously, like, I even listened to that whilst doing like housework and chores and stuff, and it just makes me feel like powered by it because of that beat of it, and it's just like, wow. And also the shout out to actually the Doctor Who theme itself. Like, that is just iconic because, like, he's literally brought back the Daily Derbyshire theme but modernized it with his own beats and stuff, and it's like brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I love. I sometimes picture the theme and the music as gymnastic floor routines, like tongue and pass.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, and
thinking of it, yes.
Yes, and I'm gonna go to Liverpool for a second because I was at Liverpool a few weeks ago and it was amazing.
The exhibition.
Yeah.
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also I want to add, of course, to a recent event, the World Championships in Gymnastics, and Britain had a fantastic competition. There was some history making, and it just felt right to see Jess and everyone else make history at Liverpool. It just felt like the most beautiful moment, and I think, and also there was a lot of other successes as well. Rebecca Andrade from Brazil, Nina Dowell, who is one of the best uneven bar workers, Wejo, and who else? Colleen Devlard from France. They were so amazing, and I was hoping to go to the World, but unfortunately things didn't make a fruition. But I watched it at home, and I was like, I mean, I wish I could have been there, but I think with circumstances I was in at the time, it was just good to watch at home. Right. Next question. What's your favorite episode?
Oh dear. Oh. Do you mean like from series or as a whole?
Just a whole. Just throw one out there. Just.
Oh dear. That's a nasty question.
I know.
That is nasty. Oh.
Just pick 2. Just pick 2. If you just pick 2.
Timeless Children, 3-parter, and The Power of the Doctor.
Good questions. I would say Power of the Doctor, The Ghost Monument.
Yes.
The Woman Who Fell to Earth, and
yes.
The Three Devils. They're all brilliant ones, and I think, they're great. Next question is, do you have any favorite scenes from the whole era? Any?
Oh my word!
I know.
These questions. You're making me think now. Right. Actually, can you repeat the question?
Sure. Pick out some of your favorite scenes from the era. So any like for me, I would say anything to do with Thasmin, like the underwater day, that scene on our space, the scene on the beach, anything like that. Anything.
Well, I will actually develop there actually. So, for me, Thasmin is a definite. I must say, so Jodie's regeneration scene.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I just thought, her lines are just they just were swift and all. It's just really just happy. It's just yeah. It's just wow. Like just yeah. Just I'm gonna miss her incarnation as the Doctor.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss her as well because she just brings something different. Now we're gonna round off with: is there any characters at all that stand out for you in this era?
Anyone?
Anyone? Yeah, pick a few if you want.
I'm gonna pick then. Graham, Yaz, Dan. Sacha Dhawan's Master and Jodie Whittaker.
I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna say 13. Yaz, Ryan, Graham, Belle. I love Belle. She was amazing. Who else?
I'm Vinda.
Vinda, yeah, I like.
Sorry,
that.
Vinda.
Yeah. Mary C. Cole, Ada Lovelace. To be honest, I just there's and of course Gabriella and Pua. I keep Jamila. Pua Jamila.
Oh,
Jamila.
from Praxius.
Yes.
My heart softens with the gay lads in the TARDIS. Oh my god.
Yeah. So, well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed yourself today.
Oh yeah, it was brilliant.
Yes.
Can I just say one thing on this recording?
Yeah.
So it is kind of a promotion to what I intend to do on YouTube because so I did have a bit of a dilemma. A dilemma. I did have a dilemma on YouTube with my podcast series. I won't go into description of that. So I did make a massive mistake in guest starring one person from that podcast. So I had to get rid of the podcast, etc., channel and all that.
Yeah.
So I am actually going to be uploading every single Friday without a doubt.
Yes.
Going to be doing a talk show on my channel entitled The Morgan Show.
Yes, good plug-in. Yes.
So I'm practically going to be the better James Corden than James Corden himself.
Yes.
Oh, shade.
Yes.
And yeah, that's my plug-in.
Yes. So please check out the Morgan Show coming on Fridays very soon. I believe your first episode might be. Is it?
In my next episode, I will be joined by Yona Kuratomi, because we're going to be talking Thasmin. Thasmin and I have what I like to call a bit of a little relationship with me all the way back into 2018, where maybe I wasn't the biggest fan, but now I am, and I'm really excited to talk to you about Thasmin and just give some fresh opinions and talk about it now we've had weeks to sell. So that's coming up. It was meant to be this episode, but unfortunately because of... That's it from Thasmin and Jarens. I hope you enjoyed me and Morgan's interview. Please stick around on the channel in the coming weeks because there will be a lot of stuff. For example, I'm going to be talking The Mandalorian. Yes, there's so many good bits I want to talk about and get the excitement in the air for hopefully when it comes out. And I'll probably talk about the rumoured dates and maybe some theories. Also, stick around for 60 stuff. There might be a few little surprises. If you want to get in touch and find out about these surprises, check out on @Thasmin Twitter, on Facebook. And if you want to join me on the podcast, please get in touch. Like I said, contact me on @Thasmin22 or contact me on comment on YouTube or wherever you can. So, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye! Thank you for listening to the podcast. Subscribe to Thasmin and Jarens and stay tuned for more podcasts. See ya!